We only invited special people. That's what my daughter-in-law said to me as she tucked a strand of fake blonde hair behind her ear, her voice syrupy sweet, like the moment would hurt less if she blinked slowly enough. I stood there, in my favorite navy cardigan, holding a wrapped gift that had taken me 3 hours to choose, feeling my son's eyes avoid mine. Special people, she said again, like I was a stranger dropping in on someone else's celebration. The shadows under my eyes must have darkened right then. I didn't ask what she meant. I knew. She meant I wasn't enough, not glamorous enough, not young enough, not classy enough. And that was how I found out I wasn't invited to my first grandchild's baby shower. Thank you for being here today. Before we begin, would you take a moment to subscribe for more stories like this one? And if you don't mind, tell me what city or town you're joining me from. I always love knowing where y'all are listening in from. Now, sit back, take a breath, and let me tell you how a grandmother became the kind of woman they never saw coming. Before all this, before brunches and caterers and seating charts, I was just mom. Mom to 2 boys and a girl. Grandma to none, yet. Retired now, but I used to work in city records, zoning, deeds, plat maps, all that dry paper that holds secrets. Boring to most folks, but exact. Respectable. Paid for this house, every repair. I live in Kansas City, Missouri, near Hyde Park. I've been in this little red brick 2-bedroom since '83. Raised the kids here. Watched the elm tree outside buckle the sidewalk over the decades. I even kept the same tin mailbox, though the lock sticks now. After my husband passed 8 years ago, the house got awfully quiet. The kind of quiet that hums like an old fridge, always threatening to break. But I still cooked Sunday dinner almost every week. Roast chicken, mashed sweet potatoes with cinnamon if my daughter was coming by, and cornbread, because Michael, my oldest, always swore mine tasted better than anyone else's. Michael, my baby boy who once cried when his goldfish died and who still called me Ma in that half-laugh, half-groan way that grown sons do. He brought Brianna home just before the pandemic hit. Back then she was soft-spoken, wide-eyed, always flattering, helped me clear dishes, called me Miss Carter, brought me lavender hand lotion for Christmas. She smiled too much. That was the first thing I noticed. That kind of smile that tightens instead of softens. But she seemed to love Michael, and that made me hold my tongue. For years. They married up in St. Joseph. Small ceremony. I wasn't involved in the planning, but Brianna made a show of thanking me in her vows. I kept telling myself she was just nervous. A year passed. Then 2. Then last fall, Michael came by with 2 slices of cheesecake and a bottle of wine. He didn't say a word at first, just poured us each a little glass, then held out an ultrasound photo. "I'm gonna be a dad, Ma." I cried. Not polite tears either. Real, chest-deep, ragged sobs. Didn't even warm up the cheesecake. I grabbed his hand, kissed his knuckles. I remember the smell of his jacket, that cold car smell mixed with dryer sheets. "We're telling people this week," he whispered. "I wanted to tell you first." For the next few months, I knitted a small blue and cream blanket on the couch near the window. My hands ached from early arthritis, but I didn't care. I imagined the child, my grandbaby, with sleepy eyes and soft curls, nestled in that blanket. My heart knew all the lullabies already. I offered to help plan the baby shower. Nothing flashy, just something warm. I'd done dozens back in my church days. Brianna nodded politely whenever I brought it up. Then December passed with no details. January came, and suddenly her Instagram was filled with mood boards, pale pinks, floral arches, and someplace tagged as the Rutherford estate. That name rang familiar. I didn't say anything. Sunday dinner became sparser. Michael said work was rough. Brianna was tired. Understandable. I dropped off little things now and then. Bibs, a handmade sleeper. She thanked me, always with that tight smile. Then, one warm afternoon in early April, I knocked on their door with a small box. A pair of ivory booties my grandmother had knit when I was pregnant with Michael. Brianna answered, wearing a peach satin robe, her hair wrapped in pink rollers, waiting for someone, not me. Her eyes flicked to the box in my hand. "What's that?" "Just something old," I said, smiling. Thought it might mean something. She didn't ask what was inside. Instead, she stepped halfway out and slowly shut the screen door behind her. "We actually were kind of busy today. The stylist's coming by for the maternity shoot." "Oh," I said, swallowing down the sting. I glanced past her, saw the candles lit, the backdrop stand, the little chalk sign that read Baby Brunch Prep Day. "Wasn't sure when the shower was," I said, softer now. "Did y'all pick a date?" That was when she tilted her head, almost pitying. "Oh, right, that." She shifted her weight, eyes darting past my shoulder, waiting for someone else to rescue her from this moment. We talked about it, and I just think it's going to be more of a modern vibe, you know? Just friends, some family. We really want it to feel upscale. I listened, heart thudding like a water main about to burst, and then she said it. "We only invited special people." I don't remember walking to my car. I remember putting the gift box on their porch ledge, not too close to the edge. I didn't want it to fall. That night, I sat in my kitchen while the pie I'd made earlier went cold on the counter. Lemon chess, Michael's favorite. I stared at it until the light outside turned blue. I wasn't crying, that's the thing. You'd think I would have. But sometimes sorrow settles deeper, somewhere behind the ribs. It lives there like a tenant who doesn't plan on leaving. I didn't tell my daughter, or my sister Ella. I didn't want them to say, "Forget her," or "You're better than this," because truth is, I didn't feel better. I felt small, and worst of all, invisible. A week later, the Rutherford estate came up again. Michael stopped by with a half-hearted apology for the confusion, said the baby shower was going to be Brianna's special thing. I nodded. I didn't argue. But the minute he left, I pulled out my laptop and searched that venue. The Rutherford estate, tucked in the outer stretch of Blue Springs, just outside Independence. Private gates, rose garden, marble atrium, accommodates 120, full bookings up through November. It was no wonder Brianna posted every chance she could. I scrolled through the pricing page. Full weekend event rate, $12,500. Friday setup, Saturday event, Sunday wrap. I sat back in my chair, hands folded. She wanted upscale? This was it. A soft fire flickered in my chest, not harsh, just a warm coal, the kind that stays burning under snow. I closed the laptop quietly and went to bed. I didn't even take off my slippers. Now let me tell you something about older women. Especially women like me who've lived long enough and bent over backward once too many times. When we grow quiet, that's when you should watch closely. And when we visit a venue, ask questions, and shake hands with owners, we're not just being polite, we're planting flags. 2 weeks passed before I made the call. The Rutherford was listed under a private lease trust. Nothing fancy, just an elderly couple planning to downsize and move to Arizona. They weren't marketing it publicly yet, but word had circled through my old city clerk circles. I scheduled a viewing, wore my pearls, pressed my slacks, brought no one. The place was magnificent. White columns, exposed beams in the banquet hall, a bridal lounge that smelled of lilac and vanilla. Every detail spoke to someone who wanted to feel important just for one day. I smiled softly as the agent walked me through. Her name was Eve, salt and pepper hair twisted in a clip, firm handshake. "I used to review deed filings in the city," I said offhandedly when she asked why I was interested. "I like to keep my eyes open when good places go on the market." She raised a brow. "You looking to flip it?" I smiled. "No, I think I'd like to own something beautiful before I die." That made her pause, then nod. Purchase price, $775,000, negotiable due to roof maintenance. I offered $715,000 cash, from several matured investment accounts and one old CD. I signed that contract in a quiet bank office with shaking fingers 2 weeks later. Satisfaction doesn't come loud sometimes. Sometimes it comes with the quiet scratch of your own name in ink. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because Brianna had already paid her non-refundable deposit, $2,400 down, 5 months in advance. The remaining $10,100 was due 30 days before the event, which meant, on paper, she was already a client. And now, I was the owner. I didn't cancel her booking, at least not right away. I watched. For the next few weeks, her social media became a shrine. "The dream is coming true," she wrote. Posts of her posing in tulle near the grand staircase. Rough floor plans saved to highlight bubbles titled Baby Blush and White Bloom Theme. She hosted tastings, booked a $1,000 harpist, told guests to prepare for elegance. Every Saturday while I tended my azaleas or read the Post under the sunroom light, she added one more glass tile to the fragile tower of her expectations, and I said nothing. Then, a week before her final payment was due, Michael called. He didn't sound like himself. "Hey Ma, can we talk?" I said he could come by. He looked tired, worn out like a shirt washed too many times. Said Brianna's beauty business had taken a hit, something with her biggest client canceling 2 large bridal party packages. They were short. "Just until after the birth," he said. "We're trying to move things around, sell a few things. We're thinking about asking her sister to help." I nodded slowly, just listening. Then he looked at me with that boyish desperation I hadn't seen since he was 15. "Would you be willing to just help cover the venue?" "Just that. We'll pay you back the second we can, promise." I looked at my hands, then at him. "Michael," I said gently, "do you think I'm special?" He froze, brows furrowed. "What?" "That's what Brianna said to me. When I tried to give her a gift for the baby, he stiffened in his seat. She didn't mean, she meant it," I said quietly. "She meant every syllable." He watched me carefully, like he knew something had shifted. I stood, walked to the cherrywood cabinet, pulled out a white envelope, and inside it, a copy of the updated lease, with my name on the line that read, "Property owner." He paled. "You bought it?" I nodded. "But the baby shower, that place, it's booked," I said gently, "but not paid." His mouth opened, then closed. "I told them I'm reassessing my booking policies," I murmured, "given the new ownership." He looked like someone had pulled the air out of his lungs. "I'm not canceling anything, Michael. Not today. But I think your wife should know that being special doesn't mean treating people like trash." Michael didn't say a word as he left that night. Didn't even finish the cup of black tea I'd made him, the way he's liked it since college. The door clicked shut behind him like an unanswered question. I stood in that silence for a long time, watching the steam curl from an untouched mug, wondering if I was doing the right thing. But justice doesn't always come from anger. Sometimes it comes from grace withheld. 3 days passed. Then my phone rang, an unknown number. Brianna. Her voice was chipper, that fake sparkle tone that always meant she was selling something. "Hi, Miss Carter. I heard the craziest news." I didn't interrupt. I let her talk. Watched a squirrel outside steal a croissant from my porch plate. The world had a sense of humor, I guess. "I just found out that the Rutherford changed ownership," she chirped. "So funny, right? But it's totally fine. I looked online and it's still showing our booking. We just need to send the remainder of the payment today. I just wanted to say thank you in case you were involved." I smiled, even though she couldn't see me. "That's thoughtful," I said. "I am the one who purchased it." The silence on the other end could have frozen fire. "Oh," she said. Just one word, small, almost childlike. "Congratulations, by the way," I added. "You chose well. It's a beautiful property." She didn't reply. I waited. "Unfortunately," I continued gently, As the new owner, I've revised the policies. All unpaid bookings under the previous owners are now considered pending review for final confirmation. You can submit a formal reapplication, but event decisions are at my full discretion moving forward. Silence. Cold, sharp, delicate silence. Then, "You can't do that." There it was. "The contract was with the previous owners," I said quietly. "Your deposit might be refunded, depending on whether you'd like to rebook. But the event authorization is up to me now." Her voice cracked, just slightly. "I have 48 RSVPs, a catering contract, a dress I let." My breath out slowly. The kind of breath you take right before letting go of something heavy. And I had a grandson on the way. A blanket half finished, and a front door I stood outside like a stranger. She lost her composure then, just a bit.
"Are you seriously doing this because I didn't invite you to the shower?" "No," I said. "I'm doing this because you treated me like I didn't exist. Like I had nothing to offer. Like love and time and history meant less than flower walls and hashtags." She started to say something else, but I calmly ended the call. Peacefully, without drama. And for the first time in months, I reached for the baby blanket again. By the weekend, the baby shower had been moved. Last-minute location change. Now scheduled in someone's cramped suburban backyard in Lee's Summit. Weather forecast said rain. And me? I spent that day in the atrium at the Rutherford, alone, with a cup of mint tea and the sunlight dancing off marble floors. No music, no decorations, just silence and ownership. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like a reclaiming. Word got around quick. My daughter called after seeing a cryptic post Brianna had made about family undermining joy. I didn't respond. I was shelling peas on my porch when she left the voicemail. Michael didn't reach out for 2 weeks, and when he did, he didn't bring Brianna. He just stopped by to ask if she could still come to drop off the baby's crib. Didn't ask for money, didn't ask for favors, just asked for time. I gave him a cup of tea. We sat in silence, listening to the clock tick on the wall. Then softly, like a man unraveling, he said, "I didn't know she said that to you." About the special people. My hand rested on his, warm and solid. "She did, Michael. And you didn't stop her." There was no apology, not then, just stillness, the kind before a man realizes what he's married into. The baby was born in late May, a girl, 8 pounds, pink-cheeked, full of lungs and wonder. They named her Olivia, after Brianna's grandmother. I knit her name into the last corner of the blanket, took my time, carefully stitched each curve like a whispered offering. When they brought Olivia to meet me, it was a quiet thing. No cameras, no performative bows. Just Michael, carrying something delicate in both arms, asking, "Can she know you?" I opened my arms before saying a word, because some things don't need speaking. When that baby curled into the crook of my elbow, the war in my chest softened. Maybe Brianna would never apologize, but I wasn't waiting for that anymore. I'd already taken back what was mine. Life after that came in small, steady steps. Michael started bringing Olivia over every other Wednesday, sometimes just for an hour, sometimes all afternoon. We'd sit in the sunroom, me with my knitting, Olivia wriggling on a fleece mat under the window's warm beam. The neighbor's cat would curl outside the glass and blink at her until she squealed. And every visit, my son stayed a little longer. He never brought Brianna. She never apologized. She never mentioned the venue again, though 2 months later, she unfollowed me on every platform. I only noticed because my cousin Nia said, Your daughter-in-law's page said something about fakes in the family tree, and I smiled without asking for details. Let her have her thorns. I was busy pruning my peace. Over the summer, I hired a gardener to help refurbish the Rutherfords' outdoor space. We planted new lavender around the footpaths and polished up the wrought iron gates. I didn't turn it into a business. I didn't need to, but I opened the estate occasionally, for non-profit events, for women in my quilting circle, and once for a foster child's Sweet 16 after her original venue canceled. And each time, when I walked through that marble atrium, I whispered a little something to myself without meaning to. They thought I didn't belong here, but I did. I do. The baby grew quickly. She took her first step right there in my living room, holding the leg of my coffee table, then letting go, lurching toward the couch like gravity had finally loosened its grip. Michael clapped, caught her. I photographed it, not with a phone, but on an old Canon my husband once used. Moments like that should be held with both hands, not scrolled past. When I gave the printed photo to Brianna at Olivia's first birthday, she stared at it for a long moment. We were in the same room for the first time in almost a year. A modest gathering. My daughter hosted it in her own house, middle ground. You weren't invited to the shower, Brianna said flatly, still looking down at the image. That's true, I replied. She looked up, not angry, not remorseful either, just searching. You really bought the Rutherford. Just to sabotage me. No, I said calmly. I bought it because I could. And because something in me had bruised so deep, I couldn't breathe without reclaiming it. She blinked, confused, maybe thinking I'd gloat or snap, but I just looked at her with the same eyes that once watched her fall asleep on my couch 3 Thanksgivings ago, with pie crumbs on her shirt.
I know you want the world filtered through rose petals and velvet ropes, I added quietly. I really, truly do hope you find that. But you don't deserve it until you can see the value in the people who built the table you're eating at. When she didn't respond, I gathered my purse, told Michael I'd see them next week, kissed Olivia's forehead, and walked out feeling lighter than I'd felt in years. The Rutherford remains mine. I keep the floors polished. The upstairs rooms collect soft dust and dreams. Sometimes I host small community events. Sometimes I just walk the halls when I need to remember. Not revenge, restraint. I didn't burn anything down. I didn't humiliate her. I simply took my seat back, the one she'd told me I didn't belong in. And then I made her knock when she needed the key. I used to think dignity meant silence, turning the other cheek, standing still while people pushed past you with their glitter and their gloss and their high heels squeaking across polished lies. But the older I get, the more I understand, dignity isn't silence. It's knowing your value, even when someone else refuses to see it. It's choosing not to shout, but also choosing not to bow. I didn't need revenge to teach Brianna a lesson. What she needed, and what so many people like her eventually discover, is this. The elders in the room, the ones you roll your eyes at, the ones who come bearing peach cobbler instead of Pinterest boards, we own more than you think. Real class doesn't come from centerpieces and color palettes. It comes from how you treat people who aren't useful to you in that moment. It comes from recognizing the shoulders you're standing on and saying thank you instead of stepping on them. There's a kind of quiet power in mature womanhood that nobody tells you about when you're young. You learn to wait. You learn to watch. And when the time is right, you answer not with fists, but with finality. I didn't buy the Rutherford to take something from Brianna.
I bought it so I could stop giving pieces of myself away to people who couldn't even say thank you. Now, some of you listening right now, maybe you've felt it too. That twist in your gut when someone younger, brasher, prettier, tries to write you out of your own family's story. Like you're outdated, a relic, something sweet and quiet and disposable. But hear me when I say this, from one weary heart to another. No one can erase you when you know who you are. You are 60 years of wisdom, 50 years of labor, decades of meals and nights waiting up and bills paid and teeth brushed and teeth whispered and lullabies hummed over children who forget how much you gave. You are irreplaceable. You are the root, and the tree always remembers the root when the wind comes. So I'm not angry anymore, not at Brianna, not even at Michael. The wound is still there, yes, soft and tender in the quiet places, but I filled it with purpose, with legacy, with ownership not just of a house with chandeliers, but of my voice. I don't need to attend every celebration anymore to know I belong in this family, because the child now knows my lap, knows my voice singing "You Are My Sunshine" off-key, knows my cookies, my rocking chair, and the smell of lemon balm on my windowsill. That's more lasting than any baby shower photo shoot. Would I have done it all the same again? Yes. Not because I wanted to make anyone suffer, but because I needed, more than anything, to remind myself, I still carry power, even after they stop thanking you, even after they stop seeing you, especially after that. So now I ask you, have you ever been pushed aside by someone who forgot your worth? What did you learn about yourself once the sting passed? I hope this story reminds you, quietly but firmly, that the ones who try to dim your light don't define how brightly you can shine. You define that, and you always have. Thank you, sweet soul, for staying with me through this story. Go on and tell me in the comments, what would you have done? And if this story moved you, please take a second to subscribe. It helps keep stories like this alive for those who need a reminder that wisdom doesn't fade. It deepens. Until next time, keep your chin lifted, your spine straight, and your heart open. Because sometimes, some wars are won in silence.